happy that we have fantastic supporters now all over the world, including our high-level climate champions, both of them, but we are in particular happy that Razan Mubarak will today over video give us a very nice introduction into her take on South-South Alliance. A video message which we will distribute then over our networks into all different channels. But let me first also introduce you to the topic. It's, I mean, for those of you who know Catalyst, who know the South-South Climate Alliance, you know that we, from the South, obviously together with the North and together with the whole world, are advocating for solutions which we have developed in our countries, in the South, which could contribute to this huge crisis, this climate change issue, which we cannot leave to any part of the world and not any sector of society alone to solve. So all of us are responsible, all of us are asked to act, and we from the South are not only victims, but we from the South also have solutions to contribute. We have delivered at COP27 a first draft for some solutions from the South. We are very happy that we could continue this path in COP28, and we are now very happy that we are starting a discussion with UNFCCC on how to integrate structurally the South-South Alliance partners, examples from social innovation from the South into a process we need for the next COPs to come. And we have here today, beside my co-chair Sheila Patel, but we have also Marcel from Brazil. We have Jamila and we have Marcia from the adaptation team of the UNFCCC, who will share with us some of the examples we have to offer. And I'm very happy to now introduce this whole session with a video where Razan Mubarak is going to take us into this journey. Mishri.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and innovators, today I am privileged to be here with you to highlight the crucial role of grassroots innovations in our collective fight against climate change. We are all part of the South-to-South Climate Alliance, and it is my pleasure to introduce Catalyst for Climate, an initiative that brings together social innovators from around the world who are creating practical solutions for our planet. My commitment is to support these innovators, especially those coming from underrepresented communities. Their local solutions are critical for sustainable development, and it is essential that we listen to them, empower them to make a real impact. Inclusivity is key. By bringing together diverse voices, we enhance our creativity and increase our chances of success against the climate crisis. Our goal is to include social innovators from every region, making visible their contributions to climate action and strengthening our community with shared goals and mutual support. Looking forward to the upcoming COP meetings and other international forums, we are dedicated to advocating for these innovators. Their stories, their solutions are vital, not just for diversity, but for shaping effective and inclusive climate finance access and policies. We will ensure their voices are not only heard, but are central to our policy-making processes. Let us acknowledge, let us celebrate the power of each innovator to inspire change. Together, we can move towards a more sustainable and resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you, Razan, and I think we are all happy to join her initiative of Catalysts for Climate and to join our efforts to really use this support from the climate champions to integrate our ideas and proposals into this COP process. And I will start now by handing over to Marcel, my friend from Brazil, who will give us a quick overview about Brazil's role, preparing obviously for the next COPs to come in inclusive climate advocacy. Marcel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Helmi. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I am Marcelo speaking from São Paulo in Brazil, and I start this session by sharing my mixed feelings. First of all, gratitude and happiness for being here, sharing the Brazil game plan for the next couple of years, and at the same time, a deep sadness for what is happening in south of Brazil. You probably have seen in the news how a capital in south of Brazil has disappeared because of the floods and historical raining. It is indeed a result of climate emergency that we are going through. So the next couple of years in Brazil is very important, not only for Brazil, not only for the Latin America or even the global South, but for the whole world, because we have important multilateral agendas going on here. So in this year, Brazil hosts the G20. G20 is by far one of the most relevant multilateral space because it gathers 2/3 of the global population, 85% of the global GDP, 75% of the international trade, and 80% of the total emissions. So indeed, if you want to promote systems change, it needs to go through the G20. And the Brazil's agenda for G20 is absolutely crucial because it not only tackles the sustainable development, but it brings important elements for the climate agenda. So the first one is the bioeconomy initiative, which is for the first time a cross-cutting initiative in the G20. The expected outcome in this agenda is to come up with high-level principles of what bioeconomy means and how we can implement in the 21 largest economies in the world. The second important element are the task force against poverty and hunger and against the climate emergency. And for this, we did have our very first meeting yesterday, in which the Brazilian government was truly pushed by civic society to accelerate the COP28 agreements and understanding to phase out fossil fuel in G20. So that may be an important agenda for the Brazil presidency in G20, as well as inclusivity. So as part of the inequality agenda that Brazil is bringing to G20, it's important to face the fact that we have an important number of super rich, and Brazil is committed to bring a game plan to dramatically reduce this inequality. But finally, the social participation. It's very important to recognize the role of non-state actors, non-state players, and as well as the high-level champions, which is a very important initiative for COP to mobilize non-state players. In the G20, Brazil created the social G20, which will gather in the social summit a couple of days before the Leader Summit in Rio de Janeiro to mobilize international civil society to pressure the negotiators for this agenda. So the G20 is paving the way towards COP30, which comes next year. And it will be a very important moment because the place will be in the Amazon, in Belém, north of Brazil. It's still puzzling how we're gonna make it in terms of infrastructure, but the main point is that we are bringing the whole world together to really talk about one of the most important biomes in our planet. So just transition is definitely an important key element of this agenda to bring inclusivity and resilience to the climate action. So just transition means that we need to promote a new economic development model in which we do not leave anyone behind. There are over 20 million people living in Amazon, if we want to face deforestation, we need to promote an alternative social and economical development model. So this is a bit about the game plan, and I really look forward to working with you and supporting the current administration to foster these agendas in this important multilateral space. Thanks, Helmi. I'll pass back to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marcel. And we will have some time for discussion in a few minutes to come. So I ask everyone to really hold on to his questions until we open the floor. And just now, I would like to invite Jamila to join us with her contribution, which is about inclusivity in the Global South, in the climate action agenda. And I think we are all in agreement that this is going to be the catalyst for climate major challenge. Jamila, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Helmi, and many thanks everybody for having me. So I'm part of Her Excellency Razan's team as senior advisor, and really it's just to reiterate the message that you heard, but also to really lean on the leadership of all of you on this call. Particularly, I know Sheila is a trailblazer, Helmi, and everyone on this call really is a trailblazer on really making visible and elevating the role of social innovators. I think COP28 did a good job in cementing the role of multi-level action from national to subnational and local government. And I think leading up to COP30 and what Marcel really shared with us is an amazing opportunity to make sure that the subnational goes to the community level and that it's really cemented. And I think with my colleague Marcia, who you all know and is amazing in really leading this effort, we really want to lean on you on mobilizing. Action is already mobilized on really like formulating what this means. What do you need as social innovators to unlock the full potential that you can bring forward in terms of a just, equitable, but also very efficient transition? And I think these aspects are not fully acknowledged yet because there isn't a consolidated voice of asks, a consolidated demand, right, of what it means to unlock the full potential of social innovators. And I do want to just give one example, which is leading up to the cities. I look at it as a similar layer to what we did for cities leading up to COP28, where we worked with the cities networks to understand what do cities and subnational governments need in terms of enablers from national players, right, to really unlock their potential. And I think this is what we'd really like to lean on with you and really working very closely with Marcia to understand what are these unlocks so that you get all the power that you need to deliver the change, the just energy transition and climate transition. So I'll stop here, but I think we're really inspired by everything that you bring in the table, and we're here as a channel to help elevate all the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamila. And we are looking forward to this discussion and jointly advancing our possibilities, opportunities, and ultimately the solutions. And with this, I would like to hand over now to you, Marcia, and I know that you will now take the screen and take us through some slides. So
no, tell me. Thank you. No, I think it's better I keep it without screen so that we can have a same intervention like Marcel and Jamila. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you, mostly to share the work of the climate champions in activating and bringing non-state actors, which include businesses, finance sector, cities and regions, and the broad range of civil society organizations, including social innovators, and as well local communities. We want to make sure that the type of solutions that are being advanced are bringing that co-creation, are already proven solutions that are responding to the climate risk at the local level, are bringing that agency that is needed for those solutions to be sustainable. But also wanted to share that the two main agendas and platforms that we are working on the side of adaptation and resilience are the Sharm el-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda and the Race to Resilience campaign. And they are both complementary in the sense that one is focused on the type of actions and solutions that are critical to address the risks that we face on climate. And the other one is very much going one step forward, which is what are the impacts and how we are increasing the resilience of people. So for us on adaptation and resilience on the Climate Champions team, in support of the leadership of the UN high-level climate champions, we want to make sure that those solutions of what, for example, Jamila mentioned, are solutions that are very much needed at the local level. We are not driving an agenda that is global, that has no connection to the ground. Definitely not. Adaptation and resilience has to be local. But we need to mobilize and advance those opportunities globally because the transformations, because the opportunities are really bringing actors across the world in many different ways. And for example, a way that we see connecting, the opportunities on the landscape that we have currently is we have a massive opportunity to really connect better. What are those, let's say, levers for transformations? Last year at COP28, the UAE launched the Global Resilience Framework for the Global Goal on Adaptation. And it's a process of 2 years that will conclude in Belém in COP30. That is an important policy process to better understand how adaptation and resilience can be actually tangibly accelerated in different systems, in food and agriculture systems, in water and other nature systems, but as well on energy, as well on other infrastructure and critical areas, thematic areas. This is a step forward to be more practical in that transformation for a resilient future. But we recognize that is not happening in isolation. This year is also a massive and important context of the governments will be at COP30 discussing and agreeing on a global finance goal. And an important element to that, of course, is adaptation finance. We have recognized we cannot accelerate adaptation finance without the role of the private sector. Currently, there is 2% of private sector investing on climate adaptation finance. And that is nothing. If we are going to build a resilient future, we require the private sector. But who is the private sector? Everyone. Businesses, financiers, civil society organizations, local communities. We have to work together. This is about that radical collaboration of bringing us and weaving in how those next, let's say, opportunities, how we rethink human settlements, how do we rethink our food systems, how do we rethink our transport energy systems so that they can be resilient and we can better catalyze and incorporate across all the chain of actors and supply chains and also economy that are driven from the local to the global. And if we connect the, let's say, clarity on advancing adaptation resilience across themes and systems, the opportunity to better articulate adaptation finance and elevating and also stimulating the work and investments from the private sector, then we will also face a reality. The private sector across the world is not exactly the same. We have micro, small, medium enterprises. How will we tap into that potential? They are shaping the future today. So are we enabling the opportunities for better accesses of finance, better access and innovations and research and development? Are we also capturing what they already invest in today that is helping us to be more resilient? So that is the type of, let's say, agenda that the champions are right now facing. There is a massive potential opportunity through the, let's say, aligned process of supporting the Troika from COP28, COP29, and COP30. The champions will be continuing advancing on how nature plays a role. How can we make sure people is at the center, but as well nature, the ecosystems that all our systems rely on. And similarly, how are we shaping a resilient future and how are we catalyzing adaptation finance? Those are the three main areas of work that are going to be reflected on the Sharm el-Sheikh agenda across the many different proven solutions that can be accelerated. And we welcome more the opportunity to work with actors and partners of Catalyst 2030 to help us challenge us to make sure, are we actually connecting the dots the right way? Are we bringing the right actors to the table? How can we ensure this is going to work across the board and not just for a few segments of the society? And then the other is to really push on that ambition. It is critical to advance for those transformations, but as well, how are we better tracking the progress? How are we better informing policy shifts? How are we better, let's say, envisioning and really working together on that opportunity to increase the resilience of our society, of our economies, and our systems? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcia, and thank you also for inviting us on this trip, on this journey. I'm sure that out of our South-South Climate Alliance, there will be a lot of response and a lot of initiative joining the climate champions and on their difficult, challenging tasks and aspirations, as much as, of course, whether it's mitigation or adaptation or resilience, all the different pathways to a more sustainable future. So with this, I would like now to open the floor for all of you, all the participants. Giroud, you are trying to tell me something?
Sheila was going to give the...
I have it on my agenda, at least, that Sheila will take us to the roadmap and the summary of the key insights. I'm always happy to have Sheila on my side. And if you want to come in now, you're more than welcome.
No, let's have the discussion. That's good.
Very
it's a good time to have the discussion.
I open now this discussion to everyone in the audience and every one of the participants. And of course, this discussion on how to really promote now this initiative, promote the initiative of including the South, including grassroots, including social innovation in a process which is pretty sophisticated, bureaucratic, overwhelming process, which we all know from our attendance of COP events before with 60, 70,000 people. And it's not always easy for us from the South and from the social innovation side to really find our place and to find our ability to lever what we have done. So this is the one question, but there are also obviously questions to speak about what kind of opportunities for collaborations we see. And I think social innovators in our networks have already developed quite some solutions for the climate agendas. How can we explore how to really take them to the next level and promote them? So in this direction now, I'm opening the floor to all of you to just, whoever is there, raise your hand, whether it's on the Zoom or on, now we are all together again, which is also great. But I don't see yet somebody jumping on the panel.
Shiv has raised his hand.
Shiv. Hello. First of all, hello. Great to see you. And second, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Helmi. Marcia, what a fantastic introduction and very clear landscape of what all need to be done, particularly by the private sector. One aspect I'm struggling with working with communities like street vendors and small farmers is they need cooling solutions now, right? And it is urgent. In many parts of the places that we all work in, I think people are struggling to cope with heat. I know of farmers who have taken to farming in the night. Onion farmers in India started to getting snake bites, things which they never experienced before, right? So is there a way that we can accelerate workable cooling solutions for vulnerable populations and for their produce? Because it's nice to talk about cold chains and, transport arrangements. But if I have tomatoes which are rotting faster because of climate change, it's a real issue for me. I just wanted to see how do we accelerate some of these, I call it arcing. We shouldn't be waiting long to trickle down technologies, right? How do we accelerate that? Anybody has some thoughts, or if somebody is working on that?
Thank you, Shiv, for this important question. I'm still offering here. Marcia, you want to answer directly?
I'm happy to reflect some of the work that actually, this is a very good point. Heat affects many different, let's say, activities. Of course, it can be even have a strong gender lens if there are women that cannot get out of home to do their activities outside and they have to remain because it's extremely hot, or because of agricultural systems, we are not having the capacity to even support the production, the elements, or the people working, and the conditions are, or even in cities, and that is unbearable. It affects all people, and they pretty much die in their homes because of the high temperatures. And that cross-cutting nature of those solutions are exactly what we want to, let's say, help foster through the Sharm adaptation agenda. It's like there are many opportunities to better understand the synergies, but as well how people are responding to them and the many approaches to that. So there are some actors advancing on cooling options or also addressing heat stress, and how that can be perhaps more, let's say, brought across other type of, let's say, systems, in food and agriculture, or in water, a different challenge, or in human settlements. We really are seeking as well that cross-share of solutions implementation, but also elevating what is working. And the other angle is how can it be accessed in regards to finance opportunities, or can inform policy shifts that are critical for cities or are critical for different private or even country level. Thank you for that question.
Can I come in?
Yes,
Tell
please,
me.
Sheila, it's yours. The floor is yours.
Shiv, so first of all, Jamila, thank you for coming in. You have been a very important, sort of a linchpin in bringing all the people together. And please thank Razan for her amazing speech and her constant commitment to us. I think what Shiv's question is doing is really at the heart of what is the problem right now. We have never brought development and climate challenges together. So what happens is, so far we've just looked at cold chains, everything related to a development chain. But now climate keeps coming and bumping everything up and crashing our plans. And everybody is going into very local huddles to find out solutions which are not there, available, accessible, and affordable. So a very important thing that we as the Catalyst Network, but also, Marcia, the network of what the Race to Zero and the Race to Resilience produces, is this huge, amazing, collaborative potential that is there. Because first of all, we have to make everybody sensitive of the huge challenge that everybody is facing, but the poor are facing a triple burden. So how do we get big corporations, small innovators, amazing government officials to understand the universal nature of these local problems and to start sharing whatever people think works? So we produce a new world in which we make many locals the new global. So Helmi, the work that you are doing. And I think this represents what the South-South Alliance that we are now calling Catalyst for Climate is trying to do. We have amazing outreach, 30, 40,000 households in geographies that are disparate working together. Now, how can we put all of them together to produce an aggregation that is so powerful, who makes so much noise, that they have to be heard. Marcel is helping us, Razan is helping us to open doors where this representation can be made. And I think that it is also our duty and obligation to help people in the climate space understand who are these social innovators, who are these amazing entrepreneurs who are breaching what is traditional development activism into producing unique and amazing alternative solutions that emerge from below and link to issues on the top. And I think, Helmi, each and every one of the members of Catalyst can do that. And so our obligation, and me as a new member, is so excited about this because the energy this can produce, because we represent people from all over the world. So we have to, so I'm very pleased that Jamila and Marcia are there. They now can speak about us to people that we don't know we need to speak to, and open the doors and bring people from all parts of the world who can represent us globally. So I think this is a very good kickstart to our new partnerships, which have to be disruptive. These are not going to be sweet, cute little things. These are large, disruptive partnerships that have to make change that people can see and happen at scale. So back to you, Helmi.
Sheila, thank you very much for these beautiful words. And it's indeed about system change, dramatic system change, which we all need in all fields. And we know and feel this is coming. And we hope that it will come out of enlightenment, our examples, our efforts in peace and including all people. So, Osmar, you are next in line. Hello.
Hello, nice to see you all again and to see new faces that I haven't met before. I'm very happy to be here with you guys. I'm Osmar from a company called Grau e Meio. We are a Brazilian climate tech, and I want to share with you an amazing example of a project that we call Embrace the Forest here in Brazil. It started after the mega fire in the Brazilian wetlands back in 2020. So we start a solution to avoid and mitigate those catastrophic wildfires, and that is not only related to technology, but also to community engagement. So Pantanal is mostly rural communities, tourism activities, and the communities were engaged. It was sponsored by the private sector, and we donated the solution to 3 institutions. The third institution is the Brazilian government. So they are using the solution in the South region. There's an institute in the middle of Pantanal that was 97% impacted back in 2020. So what we learned from that experience is that the center of the project must be controlled by the community, and we give them the control. It's not like a digital colonialism where we think, oh, use my technology and forget about it. We engage with the local knowledge, interact and integrate other solutions that they already use it. And then one thing that is very interesting is that this concept was exported in an intercontinental cooperation with Indian government and the Indian Forest Department. So we are inaugurating 2 regions in India, in the Simlipal Forest and the Pench Tiger Reserve. And what we consider that we do really is focusing on adaptation, because avoiding degradation in bioeconomy projects, because imagine that if I rely on the tourism and all my region is burned, it's really compromised what might happen. So thinking about not only the activity itself, because using again Pantanal example, they have an activity surrounding conservation, surrounding the management of the soil, surrounding education. So it's an activity. Fire is not an activity for the fire season. It's a year-round planning ahead. So it's very interesting. And also another example of this expansion is that we expanded to a territory in the Roraima region which is the first central from an indigenous communities. There are 6 communities, 5 tribes, 6 tribes in Roraima, but we are working with 5 of them in the region. So it's really interesting how Embrace the Forest is adaptable in diverse kinds of scenarios and continents. So I think the adaptation layer to avoid degradation and keep the mitigation and resilience strategies alive, it's very important. Remember, you guys remember this scandal related to the carbon project? What was it? There was no maintenance. People were not seeing, in simple words, the forest was not growing. It's simple as that. So why? Why was the degradation that happened in those projects? So the idea is to avoid it. And we also are bringing a new layer of 12 months predictions for climate, extreme climate. It's a partnership with an American guy, an ex-military guy. They have this 12 months for extreme weather. So we are adapting that because we believe adaptation is not only related to fire risk, but all those climate risks. And Sheila introduced me to people here from KECO. Here, Gabriela, Gabi, you know, Sheila, you introduced me. And it's we are also starting with an early project for communities impacted not only by fire in the forests, but also nearby rivers and floods. As Marcel just mentioned, it's something very critical. So that's it, guys, that I would like to share with you. We have real things going on, great potential for the G20 to explore those stories and results. So thank you very much. I'm honored to be here with you.
Thank you very, very much, Osmar. And I think I will, I mean, what you have just contributed is one of this many South already experiences, solutions, opportunities. And there's no doubt in my mind, at least, that there is a huge upscale potential for this, whether it's in your country, in your continent, or any other continent in the world. So thank you very much for this example. And I will go now to Frederick, my dear friend, from whom I know that he is already engaged in the whole region and the whole world with all kinds of system change initiatives.
Henry, thank you so much. First, a quick response to Shiv, and thank you, amazing to be here with you, and thanks for organizing this incredible alliance. Shiv, the dystopian answer, right, is among the world leaders in climate control and horticulture are the Dutch, right? And they've been doing the horticulture for many years, greenhouses, to raise the temperature. But now they build greenhouses all over the Middle East to bring down the temperature, right? To make agriculture possible where it's too hot. And that is the dystopian future, right? Is requiring to have that level of climate control, which is very energy intensive at the moment. So that's not a great answer, but that is part of what's being done. I wanted to share with you all very briefly something that we are kicking off, and it's a pre-announcement in a certain sense. I've been in touch with a few of you. Is a piece of legislation of the European Union, the EU deforestation regulation, that was done with, we think, good intentions, but is catastrophically badly prepared, and that is leaving smallholder farmers horrendously exposed. And so this legislation put the burden on traders and big companies, not the farmers, to show that in 7 crops, from beef to cattle, soy, coffee, cocoa, rubber, and wood, that there's no deforestation. But what happened in the real world is big Brazilian coffee farmers said, oh, there is this legislation, why don't we show that we're compliant? So they did it. The Vietnamese government, being well organized, said, okay, why don't we get this done? We'll sort it out. Ethiopia, with 5 million coffee farmers, #1 export of the country, were totally unprepared. So what happens in the real world is the big traders have a choice between buying Brazilian coffee, where all the work was done for them, or Ethiopian, where they have to do all the work. Where do they buy their coffee? So Brazilian coffee has gone right up, and Ethiopian coffee has disappeared, their sales to Europe. But that affects Kenya, Uganda, and on and on and on. It has catastrophic ripple effects. So what we are launching with the Sustainable Markets Initiative, and we've just been designated a lighthouse project, is a big initiative that actually has its ultimate goal DR as an opportunity to onboard 10 million farmers before the end of the year. And so we just got the green light. I'm presenting this at the Commonwealth Secretariat next week. And a little exciting, if I can share it with you, is that King Charles has asked for a personal briefing. So I'm going to brief him on it because of his passion on this issue. Because he's been an organic farmer for more than 50 years, and he's passionate about climate change, and he is the nominal head of the Commonwealth. So it combines all of these things. But this is not limited to Commonwealth countries, although I've mentioned that. It's going to be much broader than that. So that is an ambitious and I think will be quite positive initiative. And it involves a number of companies on the offtake side as well to be the customers of these regenerative products. So very much looking forward to following up with a number of you and sharing this in due course.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can link
much.
this to the road up to COP for sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Frederick, for this. And I think, I mean, in preparation for this roundtable today and the last 2 years, I think we all have discussed and seen that any race to zero will have to be linked to natural-based solutions, will have to be linked to agriculture, will have to be linked to forest management, oceans, ecosystem regeneration, and everything else. But there is no way to avoid this natural-based solutions. And whereas still billions of people live based on this natural-based solutions, I think we can also contribute with our experience on regenerative farming and forest management and ecosystem regeneration. We can really show our examples, show our impact, whether it's for poverty alleviation, whether it's for climate change mitigation or adaptation, both, and resilience, and of course, improving food quality and health. So I think this is a sector where we will have still to engage more and more and more with our success stories. But let's move on. Meenakshi, it's yours now. And I'm very, very, very happy to see someone from Gunji, because I know about it and I think it's a wonderful example for what can be done.
Thank you, Helmi. Unfortunately, Anshu couldn't be here today. So I just wanted to, and hearing very reassuring things here today, because Gunj directly works on the ground in disasters. So when we hear about climate adaptation and resilience building, that's a very reassuring thing. I just wanted to bring in the thought process. We've spoken about policy, we've spoken about governments coming in, whether it's COP or G20. I just wanted to touch upon the 2-3 aspects which had come up in the last, I think, 2 or 3 COP conversations. One was about people participation, about civic participation. Every citizen, every person must get involved every day to do something about climate change. The second aspect was about climate finance, which is something which is always a struggle at a country level, at a global level. And the third is, of course, about climate impacts, climate emergencies, which are impacting people now, today, even as we speak. The example from Brazil is just one of the examples which is talking about places disappearing, people becoming refugees, and how that is impacting the world. So I just wanted to touch upon the fact that what emerges from Gunj's work is that it is imperative to connect not only from where the resources are. In our case, we are looking at it as a systemic thing about connecting the cities with the villages, the resourceful with the resourceless, and also looking at behavior change at a citizen level, at the very granular level of where people consumption and production of things is, creating issues. I just wanted to talk about a little bit also about the fact that when we are talking about solutions, uh, I know for a fact that from Goon's work, I know the 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 whole principle of plurality of ideas. That it does not sit in any one particular solution, which works even in the diversity of India. There are multiple cultures, multiple geographies, multiple economies, multiple behaviors coming up. And so to embrace the plurality of ideas is something I think which going forward will really need to, and Global South is a great example of that, which works very well. The ideas that Goonj has worked with work across India, across the diversity. I wanted to also touch upon the fact that there is of course, an inherent tension which we must acknowledge between growth and sustainability. That is the ongoing challenge that we all have as we go forward. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that in Goon's work, we have tried to look at the growth model of cities and the waste that it generates to be a kind of a new resource for the development of on the other side of the world, and how to use it as a enabler rather than a liability or a challenge for the world. So that those kind of things are something which really will going forward be the most practical solutions on the ground, working with the grassroots. And I think if we are able to somehow find a way of collaborating and replicating these ideas in different contexts, whether it's from Brazil to India, as somebody just pointed out, or from India to Brazil or to other countries in the Global South, I think we have to find the formula or the templatizing of how to take those ideas, but also find a way to customize those ideas in different contexts. And that's where the challenge, I think, most as social innovators, we are trying to collaborate. I mean, I'm part of a conversation later in the CCW where we are talking to a social innovator from Brazil, one from Africa, trying to figure out how do we respond in a more collaborative way to disasters. And the last point I'd like to make is about the climate finance thing, because I think when we are working in disasters, the biggest challenge that we face every disaster, and I'm sure Marcel will agree with me, that the deployment of resources, the rapidity with which it needs to happen, and it does not come fast enough for the people to actually, to impact and rescue people, to bring relief to people, to really, take care of their biggest challenges. And that really triggers a whole series of decisions and bad things to happen among the communities, which then leads to, systemic problems and all. So if you're able to look at climate finance in a very, not just how much and what and where, but also the rapidity of climate finance to happen and reach the grassroots fast enough. These are some practical things which emerge from what we are doing on the ground, and I wanted to kind of bring the texture of that to this conversation as well, even as we are talking about policy level and meta level conversation. So just sharing that, I feel like there is so much potential in some of the ideas, but in larger conversations of COP or G20. I feel very hopeful with people like Jeru and you, Helmi, and others here, that we are able to create a space for those ideas coming from the ground up. And that is something where we are meeting, as they say, the rubber is meeting the road as we speak. So, yeah, I mean, I think the collaborations we do.
Thank you very much, Meenakshi, for this trust. But I think our power is in our collaboration. Our power is in doing it together. Our power is in 1 and 1 equals 100, 1,000, 1 million. So by just joining our forces, and the synergies are huge. And I obviously acknowledge that India and Brazil are very, very big countries, but on the way is Egypt and many, many other countries.
Many other countries.
So
Absolutely.
we are all on the same path. So now we have
Helmi,
remaining 7 minutes, and I'm very happy that now the whole discussion is getting very, very engaged, and a lot of colleagues and partners here are joining us now. But I really, to give Sheila a chance to conclude in the end and try to pull together some strings and put out a kind of a quick roadmap, which we will work on together anyhow. I would like now the forthcoming speakers to make it as short as possible, please. Not because you don't have anything to say, but because we just run out of time. Marcel, you are the next.
I also acknowledge your hard work, help me to handle this great facilitation. Thank you, and I'll be very quickly to briefly share pass to Sheila. So thank you all for the comments. I think one of the beauties of having social innovators in this conversation is that we start talking about concrete solutions, right? Like, you know, Osmar with the Grau e Meio and Mina and Frederick. So we bring a real world to this conversation, right? So and to make it even more resilient in the long term, it's quite important that these solutions bring a multi-stakeholder model, governance, management, you know, to avoid unintended consequences, as Frederick was mentioning. So the multi-stakeholder to consider traditional people, local communities, traditional knowledge in these solutions, very important. So this is one thing. The second thing, you know, our Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Marina Silva, she has said a lot about, yes, indeed, we need to adapt, we need to mitigate, but we also need to transform. And the Brazilian Ecological Transformation Plan is an important, I'd say, element in this conversation. And that requires a massive investment. So you probably have heard about the sovereign green bonds. So many other countries, including Brazil, can issue this type of mechanism to mobilize capital for adaptation, mitigation, but also transformation. And we also need to tackle at least two other things to mobilize capital. Can you imagine a world where we leave climate emergency and we spend almost $3 trillion per year in military spending? This is crazy. This is insane. So how can you take a cut of military spending to fund this just transition, to fund nature-based solutions? And also the super rich, which is one of the main Brazilian propositions for the G20, to tax 3,000 billionaires to mobilize capital to fund just transition. So anyway, this is the third point about how we mobilize and origin capital to fund the transformation, not only mitigation and adaptation. We really thank you so much and looking forward to continuing this conversation. Helmi.
Thank you very much, Marcel. And I mean, all this needs follow-up, all this needs continuation, discussions, work from us to be done. But all is well noted, and I'm sure we will come back with an action plan together. Rebecca, before I go to you, Sheila, I would like to ask Rebecca now to share with us.
Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Rebecca Mort. I'm joining from Mobilizatorio, a Colombian-based social innovation and civic engagement lab. And it's been really fascinating listening to the different case studies here. I'm based in South Africa at the moment, and Movi works with a range across Latin America and internationally as well. And one of the key questions that we're sitting with, which I'm really interested and excited to see how this platform can explore further, is going back to one of the initial questions posed, which is, how do we engage in these multilateral and multi-stakeholder spaces as civil social innovators who are often supporting grassroots and frontline community voices to be heard? Thinking about spaces at COP, where we often end up speaking within civil society and civic society, and how do we keep building these bridges to negotiating teams and to really then make sure that our voices are not being grouped, staying in a group within the choir, so to speak, but that we are really also reaching the decision makers there. And so I'm really interested to see how these kind of platforms can keep, and these alliances can keep making these connections between the decision makers and different parts of civil society and social innovators. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. This is indeed one of the important observations, how to reach out of our networks, how to reach those sitting in the other world. But Sheila, now you will close, you have a very easy task. You just have to summarize everything we said and then put down a roadmap and an action plan. And then we are on it. So good luck. All this within the next 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I think is easy to achieve. Huh?
Thank you for giving me this Herculean task. I think I want to just quickly say 3 very important things that we have to do. One, we have to celebrate our abilities and capacities to network and produce a serious South-South learning alliance, which we are all talking about. That is our business. We have to do it, and we have to develop it in a way by which it doesn't matter if you're working in a city, but if you know 5 people who can relate to 5 other communities, you will do that. The second thing is that we have in people like the champions, like Razan and others in Marcia and the champions team, and Marcel as a person who is anchoring very important events, but is also a core member of our network, to create spaces for us to bring what we need, what we can do, what we demand into new spaces. And we need the courage and the evidence to go there and challenge the existing paradigm that is not producing the transformation at the pace it should be at. And that's urgent. And therefore, I think that those of us who have begun this South-South Learning Alliance in Catalysts for Climate, we have to reconvene to produce a range of things that we will make demands on ourselves and on others. And I think that we have enough qualitative and quantitative experiential evidence, like Meenakshi was talking about, which will allow us to intrude into spaces that don't know we exist, don't want to talk to us, or would like to run away from us. And I think we have to develop these new disruptive partnerships with people who have decided they don't need to talk to us. But we represent constituencies that are critical, and we will not keep quiet. So let's make a lot of noise. And thank you, Helmi. Let me thank you on behalf of everybody for an amazing facilitation, your great humor, and your terrific smile. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for this wonderful closing, and looking forward to see you all very soon again. And we are together on a path, and this was one step, and we are looking forward for the next steps together. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Please try to check on Ask Catalyst, which we have put in the chat. Please take the link and please give us feedback also. We really need that feedback. Mishri, we should have posted it all. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Please do that. Thank you. Thanks, Helmi. You were great. Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.